Hey guys, I'm back and I'm ready to read chapter 1 of Magic Misfits. I hope you're ready too. If you want to follow along with me, it might be a good idea to go ahead and get your copy of the book from Amazon. It might take you a couple days, but in the long run, it's going to be worth it. We've got a lot of chapters to go through. Here we go. Chapter 1. In the darkness of a train yard somewhere on the far edge of town, a shadowy figure emerged from a thick curtain of fog. The person looked back once before dashing alongside several rows of empty train tracks. Now, if you're anything like me, you might flinch when imagining a shadowy figure emerging from a nighttime fog in a nearly abandoned train yard lit only by distant streetlights. But you needn't worry here. It was merely a skinny boy named Carter Locke. If you were to worry about anyone at this moment, it should be the man who was not far behind. The man who was chasing Carter through the train yard, bellowing, "Carter, get back here! Don't you run from me, boy! I ain't going to hurt you." This was a lie. The man very much intended to hurt Carter. Thankfully, Carter knew it, so he pumped his legs and clutched his satchel and strained through the murk to see which lines of cars was chugging down the tracks and out of the yard. The wail of a horn blasted Carter's eardrums, and he stumbled across a rail. Several rows away, there came a familiar metal clanking. A rusty but colorful chain of cars clacked by, catching speed and whisking away the mist. Carter could see clearly now. He jumped over the tracks and raced to keep up with the moving train. From down the yard, the cars kept coming and coming and coming. Red, blue, green, yellow, purple, redder, black, orange, and redder still. The colorful train reminded Carter of the first magic trick he'd ever seen. A gentle hand coming close to his face and pulling a red silk handkerchief from his ear, which was tied to a yellow one, which was tied to a blue one, which was tied to a green one, and so on and so on and on and on. It was one of the few memories Carter had of his own father. Okay, I'm going to stop and think. So sometimes the book will go ahead and do a flashback of a memory that Carter has from his earlier childhood. So when that kind of happens, I'm going to remind you that it's a flashback. I'm going to help you with that. And I'm also noticing that there's some harder words in here, like satchel. You might not be familiar with what a satchel is, which is like a backpack, like it goes around you like this in front of you. So whenever I've come to a harder word, I might do another stop and think with you. And that just means put your finger on the book where we stopped, if you're following along, and then think with me. And then I'll go right back to it. Okay, right back to the story. Instinctively at the top here, Carter touched his satchel, like his backpack, with him, as if to make sure the small wooden box was still inside. And it was. Ooh, he's got a wooden box. I don't know what for. Carter ran alongside the train, eyeing each passing car for a place to board. Behind him, footsteps sounded in the gravel, and then a gruff, cruel voice rang out, "Carter, don't you dare hop on that train!" And the clanging and banging did not drown out the man, who sounded closer now than before, almost directly behind him. "I've got eyes and ears in every town between here and Timbuktu. You'll never escape. Hear me? Never." Gotta add those voices, you know. Makes it interesting. Carter tried not to think about what would happen if the man caught him. Instead, he focused on the locomotive. Stop and think. Okay, so we know he's in a train yard. We know trains are going really fast. So my guess is that a locomotive is a bingo train. That's right. Good job. Light glinted off the heavy wheels below as they rolled upon the tracks. The problem with trains is that they are made of metal and each car weighs a literal ton, if not more. And once they're moving, they move quickly. If Carter got too close or if he tripped, it would all be over. A bright yellow train car was now edging past him. Yellow reminded Carter of a bird he once saw. Stop and think. So he's going back in a memory, and we call that a flashback. So here we go again. Yellow is reminding him of a bird he once saw, locked up in a cage in the window of a pet store. So I'm right here. Weren't birds designed to fly free? Carter took it as a sign that this was the one to reach for, the one that would take him far away from here. Its ladder was just out of reach. Jumping a train in motion may have been hard or even scary for some, but Carter had done it so many times, it came as naturally as plucking a coin from behind someone's ear or shuffling a deck of cards with only one hand. Unfortunately, the man who was chasing Carter found it easy too. As Carter was about to clasp the ladder, the man grabbed Carter's satchel and dragged him to the ground. No, Carter yelled. It's getting good. They both tumbled across the gravel, rolling beside the wheels of a yellow car that went bump, 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 bump over the rickety tracks, echoing the flutter of Carter's panicked heartbeat. He didn't want to imagine what would happen if the train left without him. So Carter didn't stop moving. He twisted his body until the rolling turned into a somersault. As he pitched himself forward, head over heels, Carter yanked his bag away from the man's grip, planted his feet on the shifting gravel, then leapt towards the train's last car. A ladder hung down from the rear next to an open door. Carter's fast hands grabbed the bottom ring, his taut tendons holding him tight. Climbing up on the ladder, he pulled his feet up and clung to the back of the now racing train. Yeah, he got on. After catching his breath, he moved all the way to the top, taking a seat on the car's roof. The wind whipped his hair around. The train's horn cried out again from up ahead. Toot toot! Looking back, he saw the man kneeling by the tracks, arms raised in anger, screaming into the night and quickly shrinking into a dot that eventually disappeared in the murky distance. Carter waved goodbye to the town, to Miss Zalewski, and to the man who was chasing him, though if it had been possible to wish the man a bad bye instead of a goodbye, Carter would certainly have done that instead. The sky turned a beautiful blue as the sun came up. After some time, the familiar rocking and loud metal churning of the train calmed Carter's heart and brought a yawn to his jaw. So he climbed down and into the train car, and inside hundreds of boxes were stacked on wooden pallets. Plopping himself on the floor beside one such stack, Carter placed his satchel underneath his head like a pillow and then drifted off to sleep, dreaming about hope and fate and destiny and adventure, as well as a fleeting thought or two about the possibility of magic. And that's chapter 1 of Magic Misfits. Can't wait to see you back for chapter 2 very soon. Take care.